everybody. My name is Angie Murenga. You're watching Just Angie, where we have amazing conversations with amazing guests. And I hope you're really keeping it in tune. And I'm really grateful to be here today. I'm also I just want to give out a shout out to all my Just Angie family. I really love when you meet me. The other day somebody was like, Pastor Angie, Pastor Angie, Pastor Angie. So I'm like, okay. Then she came running towards me. Like, do I know you? And then she was like, oh, I watch your Just Angie. So I was so excited. A very young girl as well. So I'm really happy that I'm also hitting that demographic. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and share this content with other people. So I'm really grateful to have you. My guest is somebody I respect and love and honor very, very much. I'm going to let her introduce herself through that camera, and then we're going to have a conversation. Karibu.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're
it's
so
such
welcome.
an honor and a joy.
Thank you.
And I've watched you for so many years.
I'm so grateful.
It's been, I believe it's from the beginning.
Really?
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
thank you.
So for me, it's full circle being here. I introduce myself.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Caroline Chege. It's such a joy to be here. I'm so honored to be on the Just Angie show. Honestly, I have been watching it since the beginning, and this is full circle. I'm an executive coach. I run a company called Iconic Lead, where I build, equip, and empower emerging and executive leaders in leadership and governance. I am also a single mom of a 10-year-old. I am also really passionate about equipping and empowering women in the mountain of government, governance, and leadership. And thank you so much for having me.
I am so
I cannot
grateful
believe I'm
that
on
you're
the Just
here.
Angie
I'm
show.
so happy.
I'm so excited.
I am so happy that you're here.
Yes.
And that God does everything in season. You know,
Yes.
I sit, I pray, then He says, okay, these are the people I want on this show. So I'm really grateful that you're here. And thank you for supporting us also from the beginning. We do not take that for granted at all. And I'm so grateful that it's full circle.
Yes, it's full circle.
So you wanted to talk, we wanted to talk about leadership, governance, but we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
But you wanted to talk about conviction.
Yes.
So there's a very amazing definition that you gave about conviction.
Yes.
So tell me about conviction.
So I really want to share about my story of conviction. So conviction is a very powerful force that once it takes root in someone's heart, in your heart, nothing, no wind, no cyclone, no flood can sway you or move you. So I really want to share about my lessons learned. But before I share about my lessons learned, let me just take us back into who I am in my leadership journey, because it's been over a decade. So I will go backward where I began my university, my undergraduate in the University of Liverpool. And I was doing a degree in business that I had no desire about. I was not interested in it, but because everyone in my family does business, so I did a degree in business. And I remember in my last year in university, I had a friend from my church who was vying for a political position and asked me to help her vie. Wow. It was in the middle of winter. It was gray. It was, snow, very dark. But I remember helping her reach out to the community and talk about politics and government. For me, the sun was blue, as in the sky was blue. The sun was there, even if there was no sun.
Wow.
Yeah, there were flowers. Life finally made sense, and I knew.
I want you to say that again. Life
finally made sense
on the political campaign.
Yes. And this was someone else's political campaign.
Yes, she asked you to help her.
Yeah, and this is just, so this is one of the lessons learned. As a young person, be always willing and ready to help other people on their journey and on their dream. Because if I did not support her, I was a volunteer. She never paid me 1 shilling, and therefore, or 1 pound. And therefore, it is so important that you give of your skill, your time, because therein you find your talent. I found myself, and I'm glad that I found myself at uni and not later. And so to cut a long story short.
But I don't want to cut it short. Me, I'm still stuck on, and I'm happy because that's a good leadership lesson. But you said life started making sense.
I finally found.
Go past that quickly. Why? But great, by volunteering.
Giving of yourself.
Then
and
life
learning.
Made sense. Why did it make sense all of a sudden?
Because it was in the middle of winter.
Yes.
Here I am volunteering. I'm not doing the most special thing, but for some reason, whatever I'm doing
is giving you joy.
It resonates with my heart. So Apostle Angie, I really want you to know that it is so important for people to find out their reason for living.
That reason that makes you smile, that makes things make sense.
For the first time in my life, I found out the reason I exist.
Yeah.
Because I've never had that feeling in my heart.
Okay.
Even if someone gave me $1 million shillings, I don't think I would have felt how life made sense, because it is so important that you find the purpose that he created you for.
Yeah.
It's not my purpose, it's his purpose for me. You know, it's like whoever who created and designed a Mercedes Benz, the creator is the one who knows the reason.
Yeah.
A Mercedes cannot wake up and say, I think today I want to be a Mazda,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
or
can't.
a BMW. You can.
Yeah.
So when I found out my reason, I became a girl on fire.
Really?
So to cut a long story short, I became a shadow counselor in England, and one of the qualifications is that you had to be British. But because I had found out my his purpose for me, I found out my calling. I was a cannonball in the, you know, I joined the Labour Party.
And they couldn't stop the cannonball. That's the thing I'm saying. They couldn't stop it.
And then I remember one time I was at the House of Lords. And I was trained at
House of Lords.
The House of Lords. So that's where we were trained. That's where I was trained, and also at number 10 Downing Street. And I remember entering in number 10 Downing Street and just thinking, it's not my father who got me here. It's not my grandfather. No. It is his purpose for me. So his purpose for you opens doors for you. I did not beg anyone to be there. And therefore, it is so important to understand that when you work in alignment to his purpose for you, the doors will open. Even nationalities nobody has ever asked me if I'm British or not. They just assumed I was.
Oh my God! And you won.
Yes, and so I remember one time I made a speech at the House of Lords, and I was given a round of applause. And Caroline. I knew, and I could see my future. You know how you can envision your future, and I could see myself being in this developed country, becoming a member of parliament, and that was a no for me. My heartbeat is for development, to change Africa, sustainable and inclusive development. That is what was really in my heart. So I decided I'm done with England.
Because you could see nights coming.
Yes.
But this is not the right thing. This is what your purpose and passion is, being here and developing Africa.
Yeah, it is government in Africa, not in Europe. Europe is already...
But it provided you a test, I think, and it provided you the ability.
Equipping.
You see?
It taught me about principles in leadership, in government. I got world-class, first-class training that I'm very grateful and indebted to God for, because I never got any training in Africa. He is one who opened for doors in England. And for me, that tells me that he wants me to be a global world-class, political leader.
But it starts somewhere. I want to take you back.
Okay.
Just a little bit. I know we'll cut that short because we've got a lot of stories. But so when you volunteered for this lady, how did it become that then you began to run? How did that transition happen? Or after you volunteered with her and helped, you then realized it's something I want to do?
So, as I was volunteering with her, I was so good at it. I have never been to a political school, but because this is what I'm created to do.
Ingrained in you.
Calling has equipping.
That's good.
Yes, it has. My equipping is right. I've never done a political class, school, nothing. I was just good at it. It was my area of grace. And also the person who I was campaigning for, she was also very good at it. So I was very observant and learning. I was silently observing like an eagle,
I like it.
Just understanding. She was so eloquent, articulate, and confident.
Wow.
And I really loved,
articulate, and confident.
Yes, Hallelujah. I really loved that about her.
Good.
So
just like you, look at you.
So as we went along, I became now friends with a member of parliament. I joined the circle. Everything Pastor Angie was going so fast. And then when the position for shadow counselor came, you see, I wasn't going to tell them something theoretical. I had already been on the campaign field.
And you had been with them.
Yes, I had
you had related with them. You had been in community
I knew
with
the
them.
mayor. I knew, that was my circle. So I had become one of them. Leave alone my degree for business. This was a real degree I went for in England.
Amen.
So,
so you're giving a speech, you realize you can see your future, you can see that you can do this, You can actually become a member of parliament here, but this is not what God is calling you to do.
Pastor
He's calling
Angie,
you
I'll
back to
actually
Africa.
even backtrack
Okay,
a bit.
let's backtrack.
When I was in high school as a teenager, I remember telling myself that Kenya is too small. So I decided I was going to go to England and do my undergraduate. I did not consult anyone. But I remember when I went for the interviews in Westlands. I took myself, no parent. I took myself, and I remember getting schools in London and Liverpool, and the Holy Spirit telling me Liverpool, and me saying yes. So when he said Liverpool, he already had plans for me there.
He knew who was waiting for
one
you
of the lessons
in
is
Liverpool.
about saying yes to the Holy Spirit. If I said no, I don't think that would have been my story.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward. I leave England, and then I go to do humanitarian work in the middle of war in Congo, in the eastern part of Congo. There was a humanitarian opportunity.
Look at how I'm looking at you.
I went and worked in the middle of war doing humanitarian work, and listening to the stories of women who were raped, their children being tied in baskets and being thrown in flooded rivers. It was just really horrific. But if you see the resilience of these women, it lets you know that there's so much in women. And I remember listening to these stories, going back to England so broken, and having to go through counseling and just really strengthening myself. Like, I only had the stories.
You
These
didn't even
women,
go through them.
these
The women
went
experienced
through
and lived them.
So packed my bags, now came back to Kenya now for good. So now this is in
Let me ask you, because
okay,
but you already answered. Because you know, people always ask, why do you come back? But this is our country. But
because
you've already answered that.
I already answered that. So I remember in January 2012, 26th of January 2012, there was a launch at the Bomas of Kenya for the first Kenya Women National Charter. This was supported by the Kenyan Constitution, right? So the Kenyan Constitution underpins some great ways that women can progress from where they had been. So this is in terms of gender equality, inclusive political participation, equal access to education, access to quality healthcare. So there were over 1,000 women at the Bomas of Kenya from all the 47 counties. It was a very big movement. And I remember me being sat there and listening to Honorable, I will mention their names. Some of them are my good friends, mentors, not friends, mentors. I'll mention someone like Her Excellency Martha Karua, just listening to her saying how some even family members used to follow her with an axe because how dare she ask for a position that is meant for, men.
Wow.
And I listened to Phoebe Asio, Honorable Phoebe Asio, saying how she was almost, her house used to be threatened to burn her house. They would burn her home or near her home, so she used to sleep in the maize plantation.
No.
I heard about Her Excellency Charity Ngilu, when she first vied as president for presidency. Was it in 97?
I can't remember the year.
I think it was in 97, where on that morning, some men came and actually raped the women supporters who were in her house.
Oh my God.
So when you listen to this heart-wrenching, heart-breaking stories of, not just stories the journeys that they went through, I was like, Caroline Chege, whatever you go through, these women have paved the way for you. So fear cannot stop you.
Oh, powerful.
Mimi huyo nimetoka England, nikaamua I'm going to Ngong, and I'm going to vie for Member of County Assembly Ngong. So I decided, let me start small, Member of County Assembly. I decided to vie for Ngong, So it was blood, sweat, and tears.
Every time I've talked to women, some of them I have to bring them, because every time I've talked about women who have vied for politics, the stories are.
To be honest, the journey for me, I had a lot of grace for it.
Okay.
And also I had to show other women how it is done. And this time I'm quite young. And when we were vying, we were so many women campaigning for these positions, but I was the only one who was on the ballot box. So it goes to show that you can desire, but there are so many barriers
And obstacles.
yes, for women to access. But because of my training, my
This is it.
conviction,
Liverpool was
because
it?
it's very important that people understand that you need to make a resolve. Before you enter a big decision, you need to make a resolve. And a resolve is it's a covenant with yourself that come rain or shine, life or death,
I'm going to do this.
you're going
Kwanzaa,
to
life or
run
death.
for
You've
this.
introduced whether life or death.
Yes.
I'm going to do
You
this.
either stand for something or fall
stand for nothing.
or fall for anything. So my life
love
was
it.
threatened, and I used to
I
say,
can
whoever
imagine.
wants to kill me will not talk about it. Mungekuwa mmeshaniua. Because I knew the consequences of what I was getting myself to, but this is my reason for living. So if you die in your place of,
Of
and
your reason for living.
yeah, and I knew God had my back.
Yeah.
I knew God had my back.
Yeah.
So it gave a lot of women, especially young girls. Let me say, it gave a lot of young girls. When I was at the campaigns, the people who are most active in campaigns are the people who live in the slums. It is the people who are in what people would call low incomes, informal settlements. Yeah. And therefore, I really resonated with them. I understood them. Seeing teenage girls, being moms. Before I go out my campaigns, I make sure I've given them milk and bread in the morning so that, they're able to operate. Some of them would come, with a black eye, and they're like, niliomba baba mtoto maziwa kanipiga. So, just really understanding what the pains of the people at the grassroots. So I ran for the seat, and I came in second.
But first of all, well done. You came in second?
Pastor Angie, I was the only female on the ballot box, and I came second, and I thought life was over. Every morning, God used to tell me, the book of Second Judges, what God used to tell Gideon. Mighty woman of valor, the Lord is with you. So the day I became second, I found out at 2 a.m. I had become second. And I think for me, the sun became black. I did not know if it was morning or evening. I went through so much trauma.
I can imagine.
It was such a, even as I think about it today, I thought I have recovered. Clearly, I'm not fully recovered. And to make matters worse, they said that I got the most votes, but I was given second because I'm young. I have other opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are the things
you actually got the most votes, but you're young, you have other opportunities.
Yeah.
That sounds very African Kenyan thinking.
Yeah, and this is
it's only us who can
this
understand.
is the local chiefs.
It's only us who can understand that kind of thing.
Yes.
But I can imagine, first of all, because I've had those many moments of Angie Murenga, the Lord is with you. Then I get there, I'm like, okay, so where are you exactly? How did this happen if you're with me?
Yes.
So that's a good, because I feel like the wind is punched out of you when you experience that thing.
Not the wind, it was life was punched out of
you're
me.
Still here, so it was wind.
It was
you just
wind.
don't have energy. You're like, okay, God, exactly where were you? And what does it mean I became second? Like, where were you?
Do you know what my lesson learned there is when the wind is taken out of you, when you're put between a rubber and a hard place, and you are the end. I was at the end of myself. I had given myself, I had given 1,000% of myself. I had fundraised for millions that none of them were my own, believing that I was going to win this seat. I had this conviction, but when now it came, I lost God. Like I believed God.
That's a good thing to say, because me, I have crisis of God moments. Me, I do. Me, I do. There are times I tell him, for sure, we cannot continue. You have been just pampering me here. I'm just using my own example. Telling me, Pastor Angie, we're together. Then you just leave me somewhere here high and dry. Me, we can't do this thing. So I know that for real, I'm laughing and joking, but for real, you come to a crisis. And I've had many of those moments where I'm like, okay, God, no, it's enough. Thank you so much. It's been real. Bye. I can't do this. Like, where are you? So that, I think it's a really real moment. And losing God,
yeah, it was a very tough season. And because we are still talking about lessons learned, I believe people are listening and learning from my lesson and knowing that politics is not like impossible, and God really desires and is actually calling Deborahs you're the ones that Kenya and Africa are waiting for. So if the Deborahs are silent, who will do it? So my lesson learned is, just because I did not win, because I felt they said my votes were stolen, because I was announced number 2, doesn't mean that God abandoned me and left me. That was a lie.
That's a good.
That was a lie that I believed.
But to me, I can only learn that after. First, I'm annoyed first, then we come back. But that's a good thing, because He never abandoned you, really.
Yes, that is a lesson learned. But it was a very difficult lesson. It's not even easy for me to say this, because I abandoned God. That is why I have a 10-year-old. That was exactly 10 years ago. And that is how I ended up as a single mom.
So it can take you off the path of God, you know?
Yes. And
sometimes I talk to myself, because I give myself pep talks in such seasons or moments. And I'm always like, in John 6, he asked the people, I told them they have to eat his flesh and eat his blood. And they were like, no. And people walked away. And then he asked the disciples, aren't you also going? And they said, where do we go? And you're the one carrying life. So even as I have those moments, I'm always like, but now where am I going? Where am I going? And you're the carrier of life. So I have those conversations in my head. And for me, even like, just to clarify, like, you see now that it's living God moments where I'm like, God, honestly, we can't keep doing this. Like, what are you up to? And then maybe it will be a few hours. And then I'm thinking, hey, that scripture keeps ringing in my ear. Like, where do I go?
Yeah.
Where do I go without it? But I know your daughter is I'm sure she's the most amazing gift. So, but that's where, so you lost the.
So let me tell you what, when this happened, I returned to God in milliseconds.
You were like, hey, what an Rudy.
You know,
so
also another lesson learned is, you see, by the time I'm getting here, you just don't get into that
I know.
So I must confess that this is something very personal, is that I felt forsaken by the church. I don't believe that the church in Kenya, as much as, the church in Kenya has got a lot of positive things, but one of the gaps and the weaknesses is knowing how to support political leaders and the mountain of government.
So true.
So what the church does is say, let us pray for the mountain of
let's
pray for the nation. But their prayers don't match their actions. They are not out in campaign trail. They are not out to look out. No pastor ever called me to find out how I was doing. I was a young professional leader. I'm not going to mention the church. I was a young professional leader in my church. I had zero support. Yes, I had decided I was going to walk the straight path. We all know what politicians like. Maybe they could be out drinking and all that. I was walking the straight and narrow path, meditating on the word of God. But when push comes to shove, I had put the church aside, because I lost a lot of friends. And also some pastors felt that because I've entered politics from the onset, that I had left God. They do not. When I read my Bible, every time God appointed a leader, He appointed a prophet. And all these kings, majority of them, in fact, which king was born again?
None. But
other than David. Like all of them, not even born again, like who knew God? Nebuchadnezzar. Name all the kings.
All of them. Cyrus, Darius,
the ones who Daniel served, the one who Joseph served, the one who Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. All of them, none of them. So
pagan kings.
So now we have kings, but prophets are on the left, kings on the right.
So
until these people come together, then there are those of us who suffer, but my God, He's faithful.
And then He corrects it, because I also want to speak into that and say, I am a great believer in that every king needs a prophet. So even in the marketplace, whatever role you're playing, you need your prophets, whoever it is, identify them, but you need it, because there's a marriage. There's a way here that it works, the king and the prophet,
you do not hear
and it
from
brings
God,
success.
There are consequences when you're not hearing from God as a king. So,
and I'm really sorry about the church. I don't know how we're going to correct it.
I should have taken initiative.
No, I think we need to support people. And I'm thinking, you're saying for your political and governance. I think there are many people doing things which they don't feel the church is supporting them. So I think we need to do better, and we need to find a way to support them. But I really believe that politics and governance, it's like, even, I don't know whether it's still the same, but I need to check it. Like, I remember Kenya Vision 2030 had so much about economy, social, political was like 3 pages. But this whole country is dependent on politics. It's running on politics. Decisions are made on politics.
Governance
I'm like,
to do with flooding is all
political.
But for some reason, we have left politics to those people who we call, they say politics is dirty. In the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of politics is not dirty. So I always tell people, put your feelings about politics aside and what does God, because we can have facts about politics, but what does God say about political leadership? He has a say about it. So to cut a long story short, when this happened, I decided that I've already made one wrong. I am not going. I'm not going to now go and do another wrong to hide. You know, there is a way. Let's talk. Let's be honest. There are a lot of people in this city who it is so easy for you to go and run and get an abortion, and and come out and say, nilianguka siasa, and So nimeanguka siasa. I'm now a single mom. I'm a leader of the youth in my church. So when it rains,
it pours.
It pours. For me, I remember that year, 2013. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. I was just existing. But so what happened? But deep down, I knew I had a child. So I don't know. It gave me some form of comfort. I know there are some pastors who are going to say, "Oh," but
it's really is not important what they want to say. It's what happened to you, and we're here, and the choices that you've made.
It is not that I am happy to be a single mom, because nobody is happy to be a single mom. It is that I am responsible for a child, and I will play my part. I will not abandon my child. I will not commit two wrongs. I've already committed one. Two wrongs don't make a right. So I decided this is my burden. This is my cross. I will carry my cross with dignity. And I went back to the Lord, and now I have.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes. So now to fast forward, I decided, let me leave politics for a while. But every time I would pray, God would be like, why? Anyway, so 2017, nikaamua nasimama Senate.
Okay.
After much prayer, I felt that is where the Lord was leading me to. I knew now I have entered deep and murky waters.
Yeah.
And member of county assembly was child's play compared to Senate. This means now going across the the entire 25 wards. So for those who don't know, Kajiado County is like the headquarters of patriarchy. Yeah. So just to understand how patriarchy is that we have 25 wards, and in all the 25 wards, no woman has ever been elected.
No woman.
No woman. I was the closest by being.
Century.
Yes, in 2013, 2017, 2022. I was the closest by being number 2. But anyway, moving
You were
forward,
also number 2 in Kajiado.
No.
And number 2. Okay. Oh, in Gong.
Yes,
MCA
in Gong.
Okay,
so now we have gone out and vying for
Senate now.
Senate.
Right.
Now Senate was I knew now I am fighting bigger demons.
Yes, bigger demons and bigger battles.
Bigger battles.
Deeper waters.
Deeper waters. And one thing I did was this time I decided that it was me and God. Because no one else is there to support me. And I left the church again. So during a political year, it's not easy for you to attend church because you have to go around all the churches in Kajiado County. There are 5 constituencies, Kajiado North, East, West, South, and Central, to go looking for votes. So you can't be in your church. So I'm not going to church. I'm out in politics asking for campaigns. And the men are outrightly bullying, threatening. It's patriarchy. And men are they're the ones who play the greatest role in patriarchy, but the women are the catalysts. They're the ones who actually implement it. They're the implementers. So the women would tell me, unafikiria wewe ni nani? Kuja unasimama, unasimama hii kiti. But I would be I had a very soft spot and empathy for the women because they had not known better. They had not seen better. So I wanted them to see that actually I will run and I will not die. And know that even as I'm running, it's now I need a bigger bucket. And now this time, in terms of resources, finances, and support, no, I did not win the other seat. So even now the people willing to support me are way less.
Yeah. Because you didn't win the
Now
other
you are a
one.
single mother. Now you want to say you can lead, and therefore, and I'm also one boy, Vying Kajado, but that's where I grew up. So, what happened was that it was a very tough time. And I'm even going to say this. I remember when one time I was out in campaigns and I got a text from my dad saying, "Why are you wasting your youth? Why are you swimming with sharks? They will never support you." I remember that day I cried for 24 hours. It was
You
like,
know, he's just trying to be dad. He's trying to be truthful. Because
yes,
even me, I'm like that. I don't like painting false pictures. I like to
yes.
paint
He was,
the real picture
yes,
here.
he was telling
I
me,
cannot try to
he was
encourage you
telling
and
me
tell
the
you it's
truth in
okay.
love.
He was.
Yeah,
That is the father's love.
yes. So, and I remember just think, but let me tell you what, even if he was telling me this out in the campaign field,
It's
I
not,
was
you're
a
just,
cannonball. I was confident, I was consistent. I remember even the governor, who is still the present governor right now, he would say the most consistent aspirant the most consistent aspirant is Caroline Chege, because the men would put me down, ridicule you, mock you, do everything, but I am still at the forefront of it.
standing.
It is like I'm five
Well
men in
done.
one.
Wow, well
Because
done.
Yahweh, he's the one who called me. That one had been my confidence. And even my same father, who is the one who said that not to do this, not to do this, one day he called me to just help me to support me. No, when you run for Senate, just the party ticket itself is 250,000.
Wow.
You've not even done anything.
You haven't campaigned,
So
you haven't
this
done
is
anything.
already what limits women
Yep.
from entering
Because of
into the ballot
raising
box.
that kind
Because
of
who is
money.
going to raise that kind of money? Thank God, because of it's very important that when you decide to vie or make a big decision, especially in the mountain of government, it is very important, number one, to have the backing of Yahweh. It's God who told me vie for senator. I actually wanted to vie for member of parliament. He told me Senate. Why? I think he wanted me to understand the entire county, not a constituency. And when God says vie, he said vie. He didn't say vie, you'll win. So my work is to walk in
Vying.
obedience.
Yeah.
And in obedience, there is provision. I remember there were times when I was, the resources were so thin. And then I would get phone calls from a donor in Canada. Someone would say, "I've heard about your
Imagine.
story." And they send me like
That
a
is
thousand
God.
Canadian
That is
dollars.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I had such incidents where, as I say, when you work in alignment with his purpose for you, there is provision, there is equipping, there is favor. So again, I was the only female on the ballot box. I learned so many. The greatest lessons I've learned in politics and governance come from vying in Senate. The networks I created, what I went through. You have to go through, every time I go through trainings by NDI, UN Women, CMD, that's Center for Multi-Party Democracy, sorry, and all these governance institutions, and then they're training us how Obama did it. I am telling you,
No, they should
it
bring
can never
Kenyans.
work.
No, and they should bring they have to bring the Kenyan
They have to
story.
bring the Kenya
We
story.
we
So
don't operate like those, like everybody else.
that is
There's
why
something so genuine.
that is why I built an organization called Iconic Lead, where I equip
Okay.
women
On
on how to vie in the African context, because you have to understand the African dynamics. And that is why, you remember from the onset when I came back, I told you I went to Bomas of Kenya. I
for the charter.
consistently exposed myself to opportunities where I learned the dynamics of African and Kenyan context of political leadership. So when women expose themselves, that is the reason why I'm always on the ballot box. We can start many, but it is always, yeah. And also, you have to have the resolve. As I said, a resolve is
And
a
a
covenant
conviction.
with yourself that you must, yeah, and a conviction, of course.
So did you win?
No, I did not.
God, you did not win.
So let me tell you what, I did not win. And now what happened was, I may not have won, but I want people to know that the lessons I learned out of it are more than winning.
And those
Because,
lessons now are iconic.
yes, and number one is because of my experience of running for Senate, I got an opportunity to go to Germany to be trained and immersed in the Berlin and German politics, to meet the former Prime Minister of Germany, Angela Merkel, her team, her political party,
Wow.
where she, and also many member of parliaments, how government is operated in a system that is working.
Okay.
Right?
Amazing.
And I remember going to Berlin and seeing Berlin is actually a forest. They have not cut down their trees, how their governance is run. And Yahweh, God, who I'm calling Yahweh, really refreshing my spirit on how He wants Kenya to be, on how He wants government to be. So that's just a way of God telling me, like, yes, you may have suffered in Kajiado, unatusiwa, as a female, honestly, my biggest bullies are women. The people who abuse me the most are women. I mean, I used to wear I don't think if you know my political dresses, I used to wear long dresses, no makeup. Still those things don't count. But I went through hell on earth, but it was worth it because it's my purpose. Because I know my journey is to be a trailblazer. I know when my daughter and your daughter and other daughters are vying, they will not go through the hell I went through, because that was in 2017. I was the only female on the ballot for Senate. In 2022, there were several women on the ballot box. Because someone has to pay the price. And I believe when you have to pay the price, there is pain to it, and it is okay. It is okay. Sometimes it's not okay, but it's okay. And and then I got a scholarship to do my master's in governance.
Good.
So I got many opportunities to expose myself, to build myself, and I believe that that's just the beginning. So
I'm loving that. They're telling us we're out of time. I want you to give your parting shot there, because we have to have you back again. And the lessons have been profound. I am like, wow.
I believe my parting shot is that women really need to understand the power of negotiation and networking, because this is what takes you to the next level. This is your strength as a woman. Understanding how to authentically network is what will open doors for you. Understanding how to authentically negotiate for positions in leadership, regardless of your mountain, is what will take you to the next level. And also remember that your voice is your story, and your story is unique, and it's your power. And never be silent. At this time, I know that there are many women whose businesses have closed down, but don't be silent. Speak up. Tell your story, and that is your power, and that is what will open doors for you. And this is also what makes you a thought leader. Thank you so much.
I love it. I want to clap for you. I have to clap for you. And then say,
I clap for you too. I honor you so much.
Oh my goodness. What a story.
You so much.
And I still feel like there's so much more that has not been unpacked. But at least I'm glad we got there. And then there's what's next and what's coming and what's after that. And that you keep going. I'm so encouraged that you keep going. And that for real, you've paved the way. I feel like you've just flattened the way for anybody else who's coming after. And I'm so grateful that the ballot had more women, and there's still more. I feel like there's so much more, but I'm grateful that we have at least shared this journey. I'm so grateful. Oh my goodness. I know time has really gone. And then I know, and I hope Pastor Don also, I don't know, I keep feeling again. I hope he interviews you. Have you done the interview on? I've been meaning to ask.
Yes, last year.
I think you should, because that's also a bigger platform.
I was among his first guests last year.
That's really good. I'm so glad that you came here.
Thank you so much.
You really did. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much. But we give God thanks for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story and your leadership lessons learned.
You're such a blessing.
Thank you.
We look up to you. You're a mother of nations. You're our mom that we look up to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to you and your team for being so gracious. People need to know the great army that is here.
There's a whole army here.
Yes, army. We appreciate them so much.
Amen. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, guys. Bye. Thank you, Caroline.